C.R.P.H.A. I'm going to be talking about many different things here. Okay, starting with Gavin Newsom is refusing to do the logical thing. Seeing that, of course, the high-speed train project is not going to go from LA to Frisco. It's going to be shortened from I believe it's San Diego to Bakersfield. Um, Gavin Newsom is refusing to give the percentage that is not needed for the damn project to be completed back to the federal government, as Trump suggested and has asked for Gavin Newsom to do. Gavin Newsom is being a complete illogical political jackass. The federal government is owed that. The more he negates to, the more California will owe the federal government, or the federal government will not give the state of California any federal funding, even for earthquake repair, when and if the state of California has any earthquake damage or any flood damage for that matter. Even if and after Gavin Newsom declares a state of emergency, Trump doesn't mess around. The liberals do, though. And obviously, Gavin Newsom has declared himself to be a liberal, even while working alongside Jared Brown, as he did before he was voted in uh, as our governor. Before, of course, Gavin Newsom was voted in as the state of California's governor, essentially. Um, and now there's a war of words going on strong here. But the one thing is that Gavin Newsom needs to be more realistic and logical, and give the federal government back what is not going to be used to to be used for the essential project that is only going as far as Bakersfield from San Diego. And I know that the federal government will only give the state of California so long to comply, and the longer that Gavin Newsom denies to and refuses to, the more that California will owe the federal government, and even in back pay. Thereby the interest that the state of California will be owed will incur on top of that, which basically means that California would owe more money than they currently do now. So, Gavin Newsom, you need to do the logical thing. Send back the money that's not going to be used for the speed train project, seeing that you shortened it from Jerry Brown's original plan. If you do not, you will be costing the state of California way more in back pay, especially with the fact of that the state of California will be, again, as I said before, will be having to pay the interest that will occur and be added on to the elongating and refusal of you not giving back the money that will be used for the speed that will not be used for the speed train project. Situation number two. The state of California in Sacramento City and County, and possibly the surrounding cities and counties, is dealing with one particular thing now. The Sacramento Regional Transit is proposing to cut short the two bus routes and possibly taking out one bus, being the bus line route 84 that is currently going um, up up and down Watt Avenue, up towards North Highlands, and as it goes the other away from North Highlands, it would be going um, as far as Arden and beyond that, Arden Way and beyond that point. But it is said that the 84 might be rerouted somewhere else, which basically means the 82 and the 80 would be pretty much by themselves on that sense. But in hindsight, also which is still not good. RT is Sacramento Regional Transit is proposing to cut short the bus 23 line and the bus 25 line, where they both where they both will no longer go as far as Sunrise Mall in Citrus Heights. And I have informed many people, even by giving them pamphlets of the information, um, among other things. And I can tell you they were more than dismayed and upset. But I also recently put this particular situation in issue in text on our Facebook page, and I copied and pasted it to many news sources. One being, of course, Fox 40. One being, of course, the other one being, of course, anyway, Good Day Sacramento, which is CW31, and also KOVR 13, and only one responded back saying that that the person will put the information forward, and hopefully they will possibly get the information out for those who do not know. And the one that responded back on that aspect was, of course, Fox 40's Martina Banta. And she's the only one that responded back, of course. And being that, of course, I put it on her Facebook page to be that, of course, the reason being, of course, it was a Fox 40 page of hers essentially, and not any of the other three, none of the other two essentially responded back. So who's to say if KOVR 13 or Good Day Sacramento would find out the whole extenuating circumstances and what have you else of the particular issue at hand. Be that, of course, with the information I gave them concerning the general public and whatnot else. But I have faith that Fox 40 will look into it a lot more, and in actuality than the other two have not even responded back to on. So those two are the general issues. But here's the one thing though too. With RT doing this, they think that they're not doing any any level or kind of disservice by shortening the two routes, for example, um, of the 23 and 25 that go that 23 would essentially go from Arden Del Paso Light Rail Station in Sacramento, and it goes all the way down towards Arden Fair Mall, all the way through. It goes right through the parking lot, and right over to right back onto Arden Way, and down Ethan, and then makes right onto El Camino, goes straight down the El Camino, all the way down to Fair Oaks, and then it goes to from Fair Oaks, and it almost completely goes on to Manzanita, but before it even reaches Manzanita, it goes into that split off between Fair Oaks and Manzanita, and it goes down Fair Oaks Boulevard to San Juan Avenue, and as it goes to down San Juan Avenue, it makes a right onto Greenback Lane, goes straight down Greenback Lane, and it makes a left onto Sunrise and loops around the what is now the Citrus shopping center, essentially the outdoor shopping center anyway, where Circuit City used to be, and of course and of course, and it goes right back. It does a reverse route back back to the Arden Del Paso Light Rail Station. The 25, however, goes from Arden Del Paso Light Rail Station to the Marconi Arcade Light Rail Station as it goes down that one area of, as it reaches to the roadway of Marconi Avenue. From going down the road on the one side path, the cutoff path from leaving the Arden Del Paso Light Rail Station, and then as it loops around the parking lot of the Marconi Arcade Light Rail Station, it goes down Marconi all the way down all the way down Marconi, crosses a number of streets, one being, of course, Howe Avenue, and then it goes right down by the Howe Avenue as it goes down Marconi, and it goes down and crosses Fulton and also Watt Avenue, and it also goes all the way down to what was it? Let's see, yeah, and then it goes down Fair Oaks. No, it doesn't go down. It doesn't go anywhere. Well, it doesn't go anywhere down Fair Oaks quite yet. But it does go from down to Marconi until it hits the Jack in the Box, right by Jack in the Box and Walgreens, or at least um, on alongside Walgreens, of course. Makes a left onto the Fair Oaks area, and goes down all the way down, completely down Manzanita. 125 though, one separate 25 only goes as far as Carmichael, which basically stops um, um, right over by Cypress, it has a rest stop over by Taco Bell as it makes that one loop to go right back towards right back towards the direction of Marconi Avenue again. But the 125 that does the same on the way down towards Manzanita Fair Oaks area, it goes all the way down to as far as Coyle, and it spans all the way down through Coyle and then makes a right onto Dewey Avenue, and then makes a left off of Dewey, goes down Madison Avenue, and it goes left off of Madison Avenue when it hits Madison Sunrise area, and then goes down Sunrise to the Sunrise Mall originally, and it loops around the same outdoor shopping center that I mentioned that 23 does. Then it does pretty much the reverse route back towards the Arndale Paso light rail station and the Marconi Arcade light rail station before the Arndale Paso light rail station. The proposed cut is said to be that even though that Sacramento Regional Transit already has the bus one going from Auburn to the on the way to from on down Auburn onto College Oak all the way down to our ARC, which is American River College, and the 82 goes down White Avenue to Whitney, goes down Whitney all the way as it leads to um, American River College in its own pathway. We've already got like two buses going there. We don't need two extras. But does the head brass money grubbing little pricks see that? Even while they're proposing to shorten the route of the 25 and 23 from going to where they will no longer go to Sunrise, and possibly where the 25 does no longer go to the to the hospital on the way down to Sunrise, being of course the Mercy San Juan Hospital possibly is from my understanding. Um, and if they do, then they should know that every one of the riders that take that essentially and that depend upon those two routes, they should not. Sacramento Regional Transit of the top brass should not at all, no matter what, shorten those routes, no matter what, because they're doing more than a disservice. They will have more than a large number of dissatisfied, upset, angered ridership phone calls. But do they realize that? Do you think they realize that? If you said no, I'd say you'd be right, because if they didn't realize that would not be part of the proposal. Although it is said that also that they're planning to eliminate a certain number of other routes. And from what I understand, it's the 24 and 28, or some one of the routes along that aspect. Anyway, from what I heard from other passengers of that depend upon the bus routes of RT. So generally, RT is doing more than a disservice. The top brass of RT are doing more than a disservice. They have no inclination of how to appropriate things logically. If they know, and they can already see that the if they really paid attention at all, really, that the or the way the 23 and 25 have gone for quite some time now, actually, actually maybe more than quite some time, really, that it is more than more than dependable, and more than beneficial for the general public within Sacramento City and County of the areas that the 23 and 25 both go down, as which would be that RT is providing the transportation servicing. If they wanted to accommodate any other part of RT for any, I mean, of the Sacramento areas and counties, they could add other buses put like a 50A 50 or a 501C or something like that. You know what I mean? But who's to say if they will? Getting back on to Gavin Newsom though. Gavin Newsom needs to realize that by not doing what's logical, as I said, he will be costing the state of California way more than he realizes. If he thinks that what our current president Trump is is um, basically putting out an empty fake news or threat or whatever. The basic fact is that um, whatever the if the president decides to have a have the the state pay as in the aspect of interest along with what they already owe, he can do that. If Gavin Newsom thinks that he won't, as sort of an empty gesture threat type of thing, you don't know Trump as well as I do. Gavin, you need to comply and give the percentage of the money that's not going to be used for the high speed project that will only go from San Diego to Bakersfield and back. You know how much the federal government gave the state of California for that project when Jerry Brown was in the top seat of governor, while you Gavin were lieutenant governor. So generally, you know how much it will be occurred towards that project that you shortened. So it is logical that Gavin Newsom, the California governor, Gavin Newsom, needs to give back the percentage of the cash that will not be used to to pay for the shortened project of the high speed train project. Or again, regardless of how much California gets in property and citizens taxes, as each citizen in California pays taxes, of course, within the state of California. Um, the state of California will eventually owe more money than what is required to give back, and that will be incurred with interest, as I said before. Each of the liberal voters need to make sure and write to Gavin, and also write to Daryl Steinberg, which is also the current Sacramento mayor, and make sure that it happens. Or Gavin Newsom will be the first governor, the first state governor to nearly bankrupt the state of California for not complying with logically. with the federal government, as Trump has put out as a general suggestion, not a threat or a demand or nothing, but it was a suggestion. But if he doesn't do it, then guess what, Gavin? You will nearly bankrupt the state by being forced to pay the federal government back in interest, along with what is was asked to give back to the federal government by our current president. Whether you like him or not, it doesn't matter. You need to do the right thing and give the money back now. And here's another one. In each of our day-to-day lives, we've dealt with a lot of things, I'm sure. But the one thing is, we've had many things happen to our children, um, and it's sad to say it's still a heart wrenching thing that when we lose our children, like Stefan Martin, I believe it's his name was shot by Sacramento PD, and yet they're sitting on their hands, not doing anything to make sure justice is given. It is not logical to hold on to the belief that the what the cops did, what the Sacramento PD did, was justified. They could have easily handled the situation with Stefan Martin, with Stefan essentially, or the young teen essentially that was shot. Um, um, but a number of years ago, or however many years ago. Um, it's better that they get are given appropriated justice for the wrong for the wrongdoing that they did. Essentially, I mean, granted, yes, I know they may have thought that the teen had a weapon, which later, according to the news media, that it was a cell phone. According to the news media and reports by the Sacramento PD. I am not one um, to go against this any law enforcement service, but the one thing is that if they do something when it comes to a loss of a life, then they should take responsibility for it, and also appropriate things for the family members of that of their loved one that was shot dead, um, and whoever made the whichever officer made the wrong decision in not doing the right procedure, if at all. Of course, what is being said, and either in judgment or assumptions, whichever the case, it needs to be appropriated and reinvestigated again. Thereby, the family members need and deserve to have the justice that they deserve, because the Sacramento police officer did not do the right steps, even though it may have seemed like the officer did. And I know a number of officers that may have worked with him, with the same officer. They may back him up, but the one thing is that regardless, the one thing is that everybody cannot assume that the person was going by the actual procedures. when the person could have easily had other aspects and thoughts within their head at the time, and that's more than possible in reality and in logic as well. I want to put out my condolence to the Stefan Martin family, and I do know that you still are going through some mourning, and believe me, my prayers go out to you, and believe me, if there is any actual reinvestigation, because there has to be, because obviously things are being mixed around from what I understood even from watching the news, even though the news, even Fox 40 and even the liberal stations of KCRA3 and KOVR 13 and the and of course Good Day Sacramento, who also reported it. I, they're only allowed to give out so much due to the contracts and guidelines of the FCC, of course. But nonetheless, I do hope that it is reinvestigated, and to where the family of Stefan Martin get the justice that they deserve, to where the officer or officers are more or disciplined or discommendated, essentially, to where the officers either lose their jobs or put behind the desk, and or also what the family would want them to be, their basic employment terminated, being of course the officer or officers employment to be terminated. Of course, but it may need it may require to be reinvestigated to make sure everything was appropriated the right way, and to see if there was anything that was missed. Because I have a feeling there might have been something missed that wasn't really looked into, and therefore the information that was not looked into, the family of Stefan Martin was not informed on or about. If I'm just saying, if there is, I'm not saying there is. I'm just saying if there is. But I want I want to also add, there was a special needs child that was doing a wrestling thing with I guess his brother or cousin or something, um, and he won the the match. And I do want to put out that the person that he was wrestling, he did a very spiritual, more than gracious thing, actually, and I know the Heavenly Father will bless him for. This person, I believe, had a particular what was it, disability, in the sense of autism. And there's a certain level of autism. There's many levels of autism. One where they don't like being touched, even when you're like behind them. They don't like being touched at all. On Criminal Minds, in fact, with the one that played Aaron Hotchner, they did an episode of one um, child that did have autism as well. And whenever Reed would touch him, he would only did I believe he only did this like one time, right? And he would touch him on the shoulder, right here, but while Reed was behind him, right? And he jumped. That that was a sign that the autistic child did not like being touched. Thereby, of course, when near the end of the episode, when his mother was hugging him, he was not able to express the same one, but he knew that she cared, and she knew that he loved her as well, even though with his general disability. Um, Although it was not said what type of or what level of autism the child that was wrestling his cousin or brother or friend or whatever um, had, but nonetheless, the person will be blessed, and I want to say congratulations to the young to the young child that has autism that won the match, and keep up the good work. But and you know the one thing of C.R.P.H.A. we do try to put out there our our appreciation, and we want to give out. We also always want to try to acknowledge the good things that many people do when it comes to many things, especially when it comes to helping others, especially when it comes to volunteering and whatnot else, among others, and along with what I just mentioned in the sense of the wrestling match that was also put on the news. um, but also the children with autism, you have to they're very there's very different levels and types. If you're not sure what if you're not sure what they are, because believe me, I know there are a number of them and I'd say one, as I mentioned, in connection with the episode of Criminal Minds, it was one of them that they showed, and of course there's several others, or actually a number of others anyway. Um, but if you have a person with autism, and if you know a person that has autism, but you're not sure exactly how to approach him or her, it could be also a her too. That's another one. Um, mm, the best way to do is to read into it. There's many different shall we say medical sites on Google and possibly Bing and possibly Ask or what have you else, whatever you trust in searching for the information. And also you can also talk to a physician that you see about and see if they can give you information on that as well. Um, and the one thing is that don't be too skittish, because even children with autism can pretty much read you on that. They may not be able to vocalize it, but they will know exactly if you're being a little hesitant, skittish, or whatever the hell, whatever else. But as children do, um, it doesn't matter the disability; they have ways of letting people know. But and also with that though too is that every child with any type of disability, including autism, deserves to be respected as a human being, as any normal human being should be respected and treated with respect and honesty and decency and much more, regardless if the person has a disability diagnosed or not, and even if they do not have a disability. It is true that even infants can also read adults and even teenagers, that they of, like, for example, they're able to read how you really feel, what your real emotions are. Kids are not stupid. Children are not stupid. Essentially, it is said that it was thought that many that infants were not able to know what's what, or if they'd remember various things. The one thing is, with my experience, my own experience, I remember a lot of things. As I remember a good number of things as an infant, as a toddler, and beyond. So therefore, there might be certain things that children may not remember as they get older, from infant on toddler. But it's not. It should not be. It should not be ignored that there's a general possibility that they will remember the way they were treated and the way they were talked to and whatnot else. Thereby, the infant and toddler in question um, could easily react in a certain way of not wanting to be around a certain person that gives them some sort of a negative vibe of sorts. Although even though with the fact that that may not be your intent, it's the way they're associating it to and with. Thereby, that's the way they're essentially reading it. So generally, it's better to be calm, be yourself, be respectful, and loving and caring to the child, and honest with them as well. Also, be truthful. And believe me, you may even get the same a strong positive reaction from the child, even ones with and without any particular um, handicapped or even diagnosed disability. I can give you one example. I was taking the bus at the time, and of course one girl about I think she was possibly in her 20s, possibly, or perhaps possibly late teens. Who's to say? I'm not gonna guess, but in any case, she was a child with disability and with a disability, and she was only able to sign language. I do not know the the ways to do and to essentially vocalize in sign language. Um, but um, but when she did something, um, she she was trying to vocalize it the best way she could by making a certain sounds with her voice. And the one thing I did was this, because I saw what she was doing. I was saying, and I was just telling her, "Good, good job," essentially. Essentially that she didn't being shown that she didn't do anything wrong. That gave her positive feedback, as it were. And the one thing is that I believe that that's one of many things I'd be um, even working towards, even when I do go fully into work advocating for the developmentally disabled and handicapped and diagnosed disabled, which basically C.R.P.H.A is already doing that, but also there hasn't been any cases that we've had to essentially advocate on when it comes to that. But we would be essentially willing to do so. But we also at C.R.P.H.A. will be advocating for our youth's education, both even for the disabled and diagnosed disabled, and for our younger youth as well as our teenagers and preteens and what have you else. And the one thing is that what is not really surprising, the way things are being appropriated in the state of California, especially with this particular liberal government control in California, is that the state of California is, I believe it's between 42 or 43 in the rating, um, when it comes to the education rating of within the state of California, and that's not really good. That is a bad sign. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say it's better than say 50 or 60 or whatever, but the basic fact is that we can do a lot better. I mean, the state of California can do a lot better. So can many other states that are even fairly close to that, if not moderately close to that. So, and I know that many people have heard that that New York, the New York governor or mayor, um, uh, banned sales to where nobody's allowed to essentially sell any cigarettes. That's a good thing, even if they are flavored or not. Um, the general fact is as we mentioned on that health watch advocacy video, um, that and that parents should not put the responsibility um, of how much a child of their youth essentially should should be able to get any amount of say sugar drinks such as soft drinks and sports drinks and what have you. It that responsibility is solely and fully on the parents. If the parents are not willing to do so, then they can't complain, and they cannot complain about the obesity situation, and they cannot put that upon the um the, the state and county government of New York or any other state for that matter. Thereby, they cannot put that responsibility upon even the even the government of the U.S. of A. It is solely and more than 100% the responsibility falls on the parents to 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 level out of how much each of their children. Doesn't matter what the age. It doesn't matter what the age that they're allowed to drink the soft drinks. But hopefully it's not hopefully it's not younger than younger than say 2 3 years old or whatever. But hopefully the child's only allowed to drink juices and milks and whatnot and water when it comes to 2 to 3 years of age. But each parent's different, granted. Um, but even if they're older than that, it still is the responsibility of the parent. Do not put do not try to pass the responsibility onto the state government. Do not try to pass the responsibility onto your senators. Do not pass the responsibility on to the United States government either. The United States government and the state and city and county government and the senators did not say for you to have a child. You parents decided to have the child. The child didn't say, make sure I'm born, make sure I'm born in your ear when they're really not there. You appropriated decision to have the child, whether it was a surprise or not, whether it was intended or not in your mind, even as at the age that you found out that you were about to have a child or children. Because sometimes people do have more than one in one birth. In the one birth action, that is, I should say. So, and you know that with the medical marijuana situation, especially in the state of California, it's not weighing out very well. It's not weighing out well at all, and yet it's been legalized in various other states as well, besides California, and it may be weighing out slightly better than California, or possibly equal to California. Who's to say? But the basic fact is that if the state government, if each state government cannot logically stabilize certain things, especially when it comes to medical marijuana and the dispensaries, as they call them, then they should not have put it to where it was put into where it's legal. Because the federal government, no matter what, the federal government always will look at both any type of marijuana or any type of narcotic as illegal. Therefore, the person, if they have it in hand, even without the card, the legalized card, appropriate that was essentially um, given or even requested to be get the patient from their physician. The federal government can incarcerate and be that have the person or persons in question in deep legal trouble. And with the fact that people have been known, there's been a number of break-ins in certain dispensaries. From what I understand, is that then um, and regardless of the leasing of the land and building, um, there should be something better to be done, and you don't, and to where you would not really need dispensaries. Um, there and besides, there's many other logical legal ways to um, take care of things and appropriate things without anybody breaking into the dispensaries, without the dispensaries having certain issues with cost and what have you else, and licensing and legalizations and shit like that. And of course, of course, this is February 14th, 2019. Um, there are many things that have been going on, especially in this particular type of day. The feminist movement is not helping women though, and the feminist movement of Me Too movement is not really helping women either. Because the basic fact is, and the reason I'm mentioning is because I feel it's necessary to mention, because everybody deserves to be happy. But the one thing is, you need to accommodate it. You need to be accommodated appropriately, and you need to accommodate the other person appropriately, and has to be on an equal level. I wouldn't mention this on my MGTOW videos, but I will mention it this way. The basic fact is the Me Too movement and the current feminist movement are not within logic. They are not within logic at all. And yet there's been many videos, especially on YouTube, that have women that understand it but may not truly understand it, and they have women that call it hypocrisy. But the one thing is, women do not realize, those ones that call it hypocrisy do not, to start with anyway, do not realize what it is the feminists that started the the females that started the grouping of Me Too and the current feminist movement are brainwashing women into trying to get them to believe that the society should be back into the matriarchal society, in which was known to be a female dominated society. But there's ways to get what women feel that they deserve without insulting the other gender, without downgrading the other gender. Even with the fact that the male gender may have downgraded or mistreated in some way the female gender outside the domestic violence aspect and outside the raping aspect as well. Um, the one thing is, one, the ERA marched and protested from 1972 to 1978 for women equality, rights and independence and freedom, and also the right to vote. Although it is said in one historical documentary that women were given the right to vote, but I guess as years went on, that whole thing was ignored or missed or not even paid attention to fully, or even put in legal documentation to where it would still stay, even to this point, to where that way that's how the ERA wouldn't have to go that far to the points of where women would still have the right to vote, where they would have to go into the sense of vote, for women essentially in that aspect as well. But outside of that, the ERA also made it more than possible and substantial for women to go out in the working world, live on their own, become independent, um, make their own the general income, and where they didn't fully have to depend upon the man. But eventually, it is thought. This is what it's thought. Okay, I'm not gonna say I believe this or not, but the basic fact is it is thought that eventually women depend upon the the male's income. The one thing is, the one thing is, women have had to fight so many ways, and so many times to show that they matter. C.R.P.H.A. believes that women, as well equal to men, more than matter. Both genders matter equally. So generally, the female genders have felt that they had to work hard in order to be noticed um, on any level, especially when it comes to the base of employment, as well, and to where they would be able to, shall we say, climb the corporate ladder, as it's well known. The one thing is, a woman doesn't need to wear herself out to do that. If one company is not noticing your work ethics, your positive work ethics, one thing though, you don't need to make a big thing out of it though. If they're not um, if they're not acknowledging it, then you can go to ones that possibly would. Of course, you'd have to start at the very beginning, granted, but if you do it early enough, then not you will not be wasting any time, and you won't be wasting time in the sense as the as many go into the point. Oh, you're getting too old for this. Oh, you're getting too old for that. That sort of thing. But also it doesn't go to the point where even a teenager and or 20-year-old has to commit theft or make a false harassment um, uh, you know report, because there's been too much of that going on, especially. There might have been some cases to where the guy's actually doing some sort of sexual harassment, and where it's basically justified and whatnot else in logic. But also there are ones that seem to be justified, but there are not. But yet at the same time, the ones that are not justified in logic, in logic standards and levels and what have you, the guy ends up losing his job anyway, and that's not very logical, and it's not being dealt with the right way either. The one thing is, there's ways to do it. If you want to be, if women need to be, if women want to be acknowledged for their efforts in doing the job the way the company would want them to do it, and where the company would acknowledge them, they need to do it in the right way. It doesn't mean you have to dress um all in skirts and skimpy and makeup and all that jazz. But the basic fact is that be who you are. Be the positive person you are and you can be. I would say this for every male too. Be the positive person that you are from within, and the person that you know you are from within to start with. And therefore, one that exudes out as you do your job duties without doing anything illogical, and without making false claims and all that stuff, right? And without complaining about any any number of things, even very little things, right? Then believe me, you will be eventually going up that ladder, because companies companies are there are companies may seem unfair, but they're not. But yet there are companies that are, due to the fact that they are maybe stuck in the old world aspect of things. For example, Walmart. That retailer has been sued 10 days from Sunday, meaning way more than one time every year practically. And I do mean practically, when it comes, like, for example, they didn't believe that women were suitable for management responsibilities, especially when it comes to store management. Old world. That's an old world thought right there. The one that didn't, one of many companies that didn't have that thought process was your neighborhood Long's drugstore, in which was which practically covered a good portion of the West Coast, but now is only in the um, Hawaiian Islands. The second one was, I believe, Safeway. Of course, Safeway could have appropriated that before Long's did. Who's to say? But the basic fact is that it shows acknowledgement. It showed the women who were able to move up that to that point, that they were acknowledged for their positive work ethic. And many women can do that too, but the one thing is, you need to do it the right way. And if you still don't feel like you're getting anywhere within that company, there's other companies. Don't waste your energy and time on that one company if you don't feel like you're being acknowledged for your work, your positive work ethic. The one thing is, you don't want to go, well, even if on your first day and if your first number of months, and you don't feel like you're being acknowledged for any of your positive work ethic, even past the 90 days or even past the 60 days, give it some time. And if you still don't see anything, say 3 years down the line, 3 4 years down the line, then go over to a different company, or even in a different location if the company has other locations. Because each company in different locations, even if it's under the same name, are run differently. But also with that, do not use the feminist baloney to get what you want, especially when it comes to relationships, marriage, dating, and various other things. Men are not going to put up with that. I can guarantee you that right now. That's a relationship aspect, and advice to the women, and the women will be shown positive things without any sexual innuendos from the men. And if the man does, believe me, the man will get his just desserts, both legal and otherwise. The basic fact is that if you can positively accommodate the man, even with the aspect of non-sexual aspects, right? Then he can do the same thing for you. But don't go to the points of materialism. Don't go to the points of like, I feel entitled to get this. I feel entitled to get that. I feel entitled to get more than the man. If you go to that point, you're not being realistic. You're not being fair either. Entitlement is completely out of the ballpark. It's not in the visual aspect. It's not within the visual acuity of things, even when it comes to relationships, and even when it comes to what each person deserves. If you have any questions even on any of the things I mentioned, please let me know. But also, Gavin Newsom, one last thing, Gavin Newsom, you need to do as I more than suggested, because you will be bankrupting the state of California if you do not, because it will incur with interest. If you think President Trump is placing out a joke, even through the media and social media, guess again. Trump is a businessman. One, he knows what he's doing, even when it comes to making this country and better than it has been better than it has been under Obama, better than it has been under Carter, better than it has been under Clinton to start with. So therefore, Trump is doing the right thing for America, whether you want to believe it, whether the liberal idiot voters want to believe it or not. But I know there are many liberal voters that would agree with me, and those are not those people are not idiots. And I don't mean it in a derogatory, mean way, but the basic fact is if you're not going to acknowledge the good job that Trump has been doing and is doing, and is even working towards doing to make things better for the American people and for you, then obviously you don't know politics as well as you think, and you basically want to depend upon the false words and promises of the liberal Democrats, which basically, whenever the liberal Democrats promise you a lot of things, they will not comply with those promises if they, if and when they get voted into office. Case in point, Jerry Brown. Case in point, Obama. Obama promised jobs. There was no jobs. Jerry Brown advertised for the school funding for California under Prop 39, legislation Proposition 39. He duped you guys, didn't he? He went behind closed doors. Jerry Brown went behind closed doors and changed the legislation of Prop 39 to from the school funding that he advertised on TV, on actual TV, and changed it to his high tax plan. The very thing that many people who were interviewed by numbers of the media, local and otherwise, said it was not a good idea, not a good thing for California. Even the Republicans within the state of California said it was a bad idea. But did Jerry Brown listen? No. But then, of course, when Prop 39 came into the picture, then he advertised for the school funding. But did he keep it as school funding? No. He wanted what he felt that was needed, and what he felt was necessary at that point in time, which wasn't really not necessary at all. And that thing that he really wanted to pass was his high tax plan. He didn't care. He didn't care about if our youth in the state of California had a stable and stronger education. Think about that. Trump is doing the right thing. Jerry Brown, Obama, no. And so far, Gavin Newsom is doing the wrong thing as well. So Gavin, you better give the money that will not be used for the high-speed train. This is the last time I'm saying this, for right now anyway. You better give the high-speed, the percentage of the money that the federal government sent to California for the project of the high-speed train. Give the percentage that will not be used back to the federal government. Do not hesitate. Do not BS the American people. Do not BS the government. And do not even think that Trump is playing you for a fool. You're playing yourself for a fool. This is C.R.P.H.A. Please stay safe even this Valentine's Day, and may Heavenly Father bless you all.